Audio test. Okay, we're all good. Hello everyone, this is Gundam Ace, aka John Hooper. I'm here with my streaming of Secret Game Killer Queen. When we last left off, the battle between Soichi's group and the soldiers from the organization began, and though Fumika managed to take out one, they also managed to get the drop on her and injure her, so it looked like she was out for the count. But it was at that moment Nagisa chose to reveal her true nature as the Game Master, and managed to help them save Fumika and brought everyone to retreat back into the central control room, where she told everyone about her identity. And so they set up a blockade towards the central control room that the soldiers are currently breaking into as the Soichi's group prepares for battle. Hazuki and Reiko are still, but Karin's now awake, so she'll be able to fight, hopefully. So, yeah, this time I'm planning to finish the game at the end of the stream. Probably take about 3, maybe 3.5 hours. So let's just get right to it, because this will probably be the last stream. Alright, and here we go. The heat detection sensor that Soichi held picked up a heat source on the other side of the partition wall. When Soichi confirmed that, he spoke into the mic on the headset in his ear. Fumika, it seems like they're coming from the other side of the bulkhead. There's no response on the radar, but the audio and heat sensors are picking them up. Soichi was currently in front of a bulkhead near the central control center. There's nothing else protecting them up ahead. The battle would start once their enemy broke through. The group had set up sensors Fumika had been carrying around on the opposite side of the bulkhead. The building itself was equipped with surveillance devices. But since the hold on a second. Alright, the building itself also had surveillance devices, but they couldn't get good information from them due to the organization's interference. They couldn't count on feeding them false information this time. The information via the computer wouldn't put to use. And the radars showed no reactions. Either they were jamming them, or perhaps the soldiers were wearing the uniforms that protected against radio waves. Whatever the case, they couldn't pick their movements up on the anti-personnel radar. But the audio and heat sensors still worked. However, the downside was that they had to be very close to him in order for it to pick him up. That was why by the time Soichi noticed it, the enemy was already up, will already be there soon. There's 6? How's it? What's it look like on the camera? Can you see anything? We just checked. There's 6 outside the bulkhead. At first there'd been 8. Fumika had defeated 1, and Nagisa had shot another one who retreated from the front lines. Currently, 6 soldiers were headed for Soichi's group. According to Nagisa, they'll have cracked the bulkhead's opening code soon. Have you set the explosives? Once you're done, head back here right away. I'm doing it right now. Soichi continued working as he spoke to Fumika. He'd come here in order to set up explosives. So that said, Fumika herself had set up the trap. So all Soichi had to do was put it against the wall and flip the switch. They prepared 2 traps. After Soichi answered Fumika, he flipped the switch on the second trap. I'm done. I'm heading back now. Good. We made it just in time. Soichi heard Fumika breathe a sigh of relief on the other side of the radio. He went back the way he came and headed back towards the central control room. There's a bit of distance between them and the final bulkhead to the central control room. It was a long hallway, followed by a single room, which led to a stairwell that headed down to the central control room. So as Soichi returned, he passed through several devices set up in the hallway and the room meant to impede the soldiers. They were ignoring Soichi, but they would come to life once the enemies broke through. Beginning with automatic turrets and landmines that would automatically attack their approaching enemies. They also had the same kind of robots that once attacked Soichi's group. They found them all in the central control room's armory. This building had been equipped with these attack devices in the attack mechanisms in the first place. Once Nagisa pressed the button, those weapons would come. Those attack mechanisms would come out and attack their enemies. Since it was controlled by the building's computer, they couldn't count on it, much like the sensors. That's why I need defense mechanisms separate from the computer. Incidentally, seemed that the system controlling this building would be physically shut down once the enemy unlocked the last bulkhead. In the end, stopping the computer itself was the best way to avoid any unusual interference from the outside. In particular, the organization hadn't imagined that Nagisa would betray when they sent in the second team. So the electrical systems were generally controlled in this building. In that sense, physically shutting it down would be an effective strategy. It sure is strange, seriously. Soichi thought that as he passed by the defense mechanisms. I never thought we'd be using these. It's like we're the ones in charge of the game here. In a twist of irony, it was Soichi's group who was controlling the control room in charge of the building. And the ones invading it were the ones who originally owned it, the organization. And Soichi's group would be fighting back with devices that were originally meant for them, to be used on them. How in the hell did things end up this way? What's wrong, Soichi? Did you say something? Fumika's voice came over the receiver. Soichi smiled wryly. Nope, just talking to myself. Anyway, I'll be there soon. Soichi had reached the stairwell in front of the control room. At that moment, Soichi's cell phone vibrated in his pocket. It was the alarm he set to tell him that the time had come. It's time, Soichi. Fumika probably also realized the same thing. Her voice came through the receiver again. Got it. It was currently 9:30 p.m. That was when the alarm had been set to go off. Just as Fumika had said, this was the time when Ace's coordinated attack was supposed to begin. It's finally begun, huh? Soichi ran down the stairwell and headed straight into the control room. Welcome back, big bro. Good work, Mitsurugi. Soichi, they've opened the bulkhead. Just as soon as Soichi got in, Yuki and Sakumi welcomed him back just as Nagisa hastily gave that report. Karin wasn't in the central control room. She'd gone over to the infirmary a while back. She was injured, and so she wasn't participating in the extra game. They didn't know what would happen if she tried to join in.
Sakumi-chan, 防衛装置類をすべて起動。渚さんはコンピューターをシャットダウン。宗一君は私と一緒にここへ。
Sakumi, activate all the defense mechanisms. Nagisa, shut down the computer. Soichi, come with me. In response to Nagisa's report, Fumika hastily began giving off orders. Right. Got it. Sakumi and Nagisa then head to their respective jobs. Understood. Soichi responded, crossed through the room, and jumped over the barricade that was on the wall. They set up that barricade in a hurry, but it was surprisingly sturdy. It was the last defense that'd be protecting Soichi's group for the next couple of minutes. Fumiko was waiting for him there. The two of them were waiting for their enemies to arrive. Once Sakumi and Nagisa finished up with their jobs, they head over to the barricade as well. Well, all we have to do is make it out of this alive, all of us. That's all that matters. Soichi pumped himself up and took a rifle that Fumiko offered him. He had to fight now so they could all survive. Soichi's group, the organization, and Ace. And so the curtain finally rose on the final battle for them all. Hold on a second, I'm just going to take a quick drink. Break. Okay, sorry about that. Let's continue. The first thing that activated was the bombs. That was the explosives that Soichi had set. Once it detected the enemy's intrusion, it quickly exploded from the inside of the walls. Talk about standard. But Captain, we're up against mostly amateurs here, right? We have to give him some credit for being able to just choose even the standard tactic. Point taken. The 6 soldiers were all unharmed. Expecting the sort of tactic, they brought a single robot along. The trapper detected the robot, and exploded, leaving the men unharmed. The men talked calmly as they proceeded down as they passed through the hatch of the bulkhead. But don't let your guards down. You're right. It was game over for 2 of us because of that carelessness. Though they weren't keeping their guards down, they were still indeed surprised by the betrayal of the Game Master. Hadn't been expected. On top of that, they lost 2 of their comrades. In actuality, the first one had been taken out by Fumiko and Ace's sabotage tactics, but they thought that Nagisa had betrayal been responsible for the 2 of them. It was easier to assume that than to think there was another intruder there.
俺たちの前に送り込まれてたチームもその裏切り者のせいで全滅したのかもしれませんね。
It might be the traitor's fault that the team that was sent before us were all wiped out.
あり得る話だな。だが、そうと分かっていれば負ける相手じゃない。装備も経験もこちらが圧倒している。
It's not impossible. But even so, that doesn't mean they're undefeatable. We have an overwhelming advantage in equipment and experience. Hold on a second. Alright, he wasn't being cocky or careless. It was just the simple facts. It was because they were aware of that they were so calm.
行くぞ。ゲームは始まったばかりだ。
Let's go. The game's just getting started. That was just how powerful the group's enemies were. The shockwaves from the explosions reached the central control room. Five of them heard that sound from behind the barricade. Soichi strained his ears towards that sound as he cautiously watched the entrance to the control room. The explosion has happened just past there. You think you got him? You think we got him? Sakumi muttered that, but Fumika quickly shook her head.
これで倒せるような相手ばかりなら、私たちはだいぶ前に奴らの組織を根こそぎ倒してたと思うわ。
If they were this weak, we would have defeated the organization. We would have taken out the organization a long time ago. Hold on a second. If this was a movie, this is probably what they'd say. So it's their idea of an invitation, of the greeting, huh?
挨拶にしかならないのはこちらの辛いところだわね、ソイチ君。
It's a shame that's the only greeting we can give them, Soichi. Fumika gave Soichi a wry smile.
みんな、音響センサーが復活したよ。
Guys, the audio sensors are back online. The audio sensors have been briefly scrambled due to the intense sound of the explosion and been temporarily offline. But after a little while, they went back on.
やっぱりあの人たち無事みたい。
Yeah, it looks like they're okay. Nagisa spoke in her usual tone, perhaps because she had been expecting that. Soichi looked in her hands, finding that there were indeed 6 blips on the sensor screen she was holding. The blips slowly got farther away from the sensors. They were headed for the central control room.
そろそろスマートガンの感知範囲に入るよ。さくみちゃん、監視カメラの視界に入らないかな。
They should be in the smart gun's detection range soon. Sakumi, can you see him on the surveillance cameras? Hold on a second. smart guns were stationary machine guns that automatically attacked enemies by identifying them via optic sensors. They had originally been set up in order to deal with any rule breakers in this building. Now they set them. They found them in the armory and set them up in the hallway.
今姿が見えました。すぐに来ますよ。
I just saw them. They'll be here soon. They also set up there are also cameras set up near the smart guns. The monitor, small monitor Sakura was holding was linked to them. Was linked to them. The 6 men soon appeared on the monitor going down the hallway. And once they entered view, right below the screen, in other words, at the end of the hallway, 2 of the smart guns aimed their muzzles at them. The way they looked at their enemies like that were almost like penguins in the zoo looking at their bait. An almost humorous image. But there's no time to be laughing. Their enemy was to attack the men who were approaching. The microphone attached to the surveillance cameras picked up the sound of revolving rotors. The smart guns had detected the men were beginning prepared to attack. That motor sound was the sound of the smart guns firing system getting ready.
ロボットの方も動き出したよ。
The robots started to move too. Around the monitor showing the smart guns also showed 4 machines moving, new machines moving, and they were small. There were 4 small automatic attack robots equipped with small machine guns and rocket launchers. The same kind of robot that attacked them earlier. Compared to the fixed smart guns, they were weaker. But due to their mobility and their size, they were difficult targets to hit.
頑張ってね、ロボットくんたち。
Good luck, our little robot buddies. In actuality, they didn't expect the smart gun, the fixed smart guns to have much effect on the soldier organization, since they knew their specs. All they'd have to do was get out of their attack range and throw grenades to finish them off. Smart guns were a significant attack system because they're equipped everywhere. So in this current situation where there's only 1 of them available, they wouldn't be much effective for an attack. So they set up the robots to cover that weak point. The robots moved around in the smart gun's attack range. They set up the robots to move about in the smart gun's attack range and attack their enemies. In other words, even if their enemies put some distance in order to attack the smart guns, the robots with their long attack range would fire at them. And once they got close to the robots to defeat them, they'd have to get within the smart gun's attack range. In this location, the robot's relatively small yet long-range rocket launcher would prove useful. The men kept their distance while firing their rifles at the robots. But from that distance, they couldn't get a good hit on them. When the men saw that, they swiftly retreated. We did it!
ずいぶん簡単に引いたわね。
They retreated rather easily, though. Soichi let out a shout of joy when he saw the enemies backing off. But Fumika didn't let her serious gaze disappear.
あれ、宗一君、フミカさん、敵の数が増えたよ。
Huh? Soichi, Fumika, the number of enemies has increased. Nagisa, who'd been following the men's presence with the audio sensors, suddenly spoke up in surprise.
なんですって？
What was that? Fumika turned around, and Nagisa held out the monitor to make it easier for Fumika to see.
本当だわ。
You're right. Soichi looked on with them to indeed see that there were the number of blips had increased.
1、2、3、14個になってるね。
1, 2, 3. That's 14 of them, isn't there? Yuki peeked in from below Soichi and counted on the blips on her fingers.
どういうことかしら。増援が来た。ルールがある以上、増援ってことはないはず。
What's going on? Do they call reinforcements? No, if they're following the rules, then they shouldn't be able to bring reinforcements. Hang on a second. Fumika imagined the men's numbers had increased because they were going with brute force tactics. That wouldn't be possible due to the rules, so she was bewildered. When he heard Fumika's words, Soichi found the answer to that question flash to his mind. Reinforcements break the rules. I see! Of course, they have that strategy too!
剣さん。
Tsurugi? I didn't have to say that. Everyone looked at Soichi. They're using robots, the same kind as us. If they use robots as reinforcements, it doesn't break the rules.
そっか。それであんなに簡単に引いていったのね。
I see, so that's why they backed off so simply. Fumika's eyes widened. She quickly understood what Soichi was getting at. They brought robots as backup to increase their numbers. That wasn't their only objective. If they were using the same kind of robots as Soichi's group, then the smart guns wouldn't be able to take them out. All that would result was a fight between robots. In that case, I mean the one who had the advantage in numbers would win. But since there were eight new blips there, that meant it was most likely that.
戻ってきました。8台。ロボットは8台です。
Oh, they're back. Huh? There's 8. There's 8 robots. Sakumi shouted as she reported what she saw on the surveillance camera. The men had sent 8 robots out in front. They got us good. Hold on a second. Alright, back. They really are several notches above us. When Soichi saw the footage of the men who were of the robots orderly filing down the hallway and the men on the screen, he felt that they would break through their setup. That feeling soon became reality. Once the robots and smart guns were taken care of, the men didn't stop moving. They literally abandoned the 8 robots and went on ahead. Oh, sorry, they sent the 8 robots on ahead. The landmines and flamethrower device they set up wouldn't be useless. They reduced most of the 8 robots to scrap. As a result, the men had suffered some injuries. But wasn't enough to take away their battle prowess. And the 6 of them didn't stop advancing.
来たよ。階段のすぐ上にいる。攻撃の準備をしてるみたい。
They're here. They're right on top of the stairwell. Seems like they're getting ready to attack. Now that come to this, Nagisa's attitude had changed. Her voice was a bit stiff and tense. Her usual fluffy voice nowhere to be heard.
結局何分もかからなかったよね。
In the end, we can only buy a few minutes, huh? Soichi checked the time on his cell phone when Fumika said that. It just turned to 9:35. It predicted that it would take the men 5 minutes to get through the defenses.
向こうではどうなってるんでしょうね。
I wonder what they're doing. They Sakumi was referring to was the attack on the attack that was set to begin at the casino ship owned by the organization.
始まったって報告はあったけど、続報はないわ。私たちと似たようなことをしてるんじゃないかしら。
I got a report saying it had begun, but I've heard no follow-up reports. They might be in a similar boat as us. They might be in similar straits as us. Similar straits as us, huh? But But they're the ones who are attacking, non-defense. Soichi Gold. The organization was attacking Soichi at the same time they were being attacked by Ace. If the operation really had begun, there must have been a great panic over there, right about now.
それでもあの人たちは攻めてくるんでしょうか。
Even so, they're still going to attack, aren't they? The casino boat ship was being attacked. Then the reports of that should have reached the soldiers here. However, Sakumi didn't think they'd call off their attack because of that.
ボスが逃げ切ればどうとでもなるわ。組織と拠点だけが組織の全てじゃないの。
The boss escapes. If the boss gets away, then it'll be for nothing. Hold on a second. Alright, the boss gets away, it'll be for nothing. The organization isn't just the organization itself and their base. Even if they lost people on their base, hold on a second. So even if they lost people on their base, their source of money, their personal connections, and their grip on the government and economic world were still perfectly intact. If they got serious, they could easily influence a country or two. So unless Ace caught both the boss and their most important top members, they wouldn't achieve victory.
それに相手はプロよ。戦況を見て勝手に任務を放棄したりはしないわ。
And besides, we're up against pros. Not the kinds who'll just abandon their mission when they see the Save the Bell. To soldiers, their mission was absolute. Unless they received orders from above to cancel the mission, they wouldn't abandon it by themselves. That nature could be said to be the most important thing. And that sort of trust, that sort of trusted work could be said the most important thing in any job. Which means we're gonna have to fight here, huh? Soichi's hands tremble on his gun. He understood everything. That this was the only way, and what would be lost if they didn't do this. But even though he knew that, it didn't mean he was okay with the idea of just killing people. But even so, that didn't mean he could just... It would be wrong for him to just leave that to Fumika and Nagisa. Soichi understood that as well.
怖いですか、三剣さん。
Are you scared, Mitsurugi? Sakumi knew it too. Soichi's fear and the reason behind it. That in order for Soichi to protect his comrades and his own life, he'd have to sacrifice others' lives. They could justify his self-defense, but no matter how they gloss over it, reality wouldn't change. And Soichi was suffering in the face of that reality. I am scared of us all dying, myself dying, and our enemies dying. Once they get in here, someone will die.
許せませんか。それに対して何もできないご自分が甘んじて誰かの死を見つめなければいけないことが。
And you hate that you can't do anything about it, right? That you'll have to watch someone die. Yeah. The death of his childhood friend. He couldn't get that image out of his head, vision out of his head. Even now, he still couldn't help but think about that. He couldn't help but... Hold on a second. Even now, he couldn't help but think there was something he could have done back then. And the same thing was about to replay in front of him right now. Though he knew in his head that it was unavoidable, his heart couldn't accept it. Wait, hold on a second. No, I misread that, sorry. He understood in his head that it was unavoidable. And he was aware of what was at stake. But his heart wouldn't listen to his head. It had been worrying him this whole time, so it couldn't just be easily wiped away.
私は構いませんよ。三剣さんが何百人殺しても、世間から殺人鬼と罵られても、そして三剣さん自身がご自分の罪人だと思っていても。
I don't mind. I don't mind if you kill hundreds of people. I don't mind if the world labels you as a killer. I don't mind if you think of yourself as a sinner. So Sakumi wrapped her hands around Soichi's and gave him a gentle smile. Because she knew he needed that much.
私は今ここで悩んでいるあなたを知っています。私とゆうきちゃんを守ってくれたあなたを知っています。
I know the you who is worrying right here. I know the you who's protected me and Yuki.
そしてあなたが人を殺したという人間を許せることも知っています。
Hold on a second. And I know that you forgive murderers. Nagisa gave a slight smile at those words. Because those words were Nagisa's salvation.
だから私は許します。たとえあなたが誰を殺しても、あなたが守りたいのに守りきれなくても、そしてあなたがあなた自身を許せなくても、
That's why I'll forgive you. Even if you do kill someone. Even if you fail to protect that what you wish to keep safe. And even if you can't forgive yourself. Sakumi knew that what Soichi needed was someone who would forgive him. Someone who would tell him they wouldn't mind if he failed.
そのくらいのズルはしたって構わないんですよ。
That sort of slyness is forgivable. Sakumi gave one more smile and gripped Soichi's hand a little tighter. That's not fair, Sakumi. Soichi muttered as he looked at her. You're the one who stopped me from committing suicide by saying I was by telling me not to be sly, but now you're forgiving me at this time only?
理不尽は女の子の特権だと思います。
Being unfair is a woman's right, I think. Sakumi gave a slightly impish smile and nodded slightly. There was someone who abused that right. There was someone close to me who used to abuse that right all the time. Soichi's smile finally returned. It was small, but it was a smile all the same.
こういう時に他の女性の話を持ち出すのはどうかと思いますけど。
No, I'd say it's probably not a good idea to bring up stories of another woman at this time. Sakumi's impish face grew even wider. Smile, sorry. Soichi felt relief when he saw that easygoing smile on her face. That was just how brilliant it was. A bit of resistance to such like that. Something like that. Sorry. I'm not used to these kind of topics. Soichi gripped Sakumi's hand back tightly. His hands were no longer shaking.
気をつけてくださいね、みつるぎさん。さっき気がついたんですけど、私って独占欲と嫉妬心が激しいみたいなんです。
Please be careful, Mitsurugi. You might have realized this earlier, but I'm quite jealous and monopolizing, you see.
あんまりデリカシーに欠けることをすると、何をするかわかりませんよ。
I don't know what I'll do to you unless you if you keep doing things that lack delicacy like that. Soichi smiled wryly at her words. She'd be capable of doing something that violent. She's the one who said she'd forgive him, so... The girl called Sakumi was currently protecting Soichi's bravery. Yeah, I'll be careful. But though he felt the opposite in his heart, Soichi agreed verbally. It's not like he hated her. And he didn't want to give her and make her feel, and he didn't want to displease her either. It was then that Yuki popped in. She held out her right index finger to Soichi and wagged it while winking.
お兄ちゃん、浮気なら私にすればいいんだよ。さくみお姉ちゃんは私には手出しできないもん。
It Big bro, if you're gonna cheat, then do it with me. Big sis Sakumi won't lay a hand on me. She said that I have quite the confidence. My. Oh my. Sakumi's eyes went wide with surprise, and then started giggling with amusement. I'll keep in consideration, Yuki. Okay. Maybe we'll be able to make out of this after all. Thanks to the two of them, Soichi felt like he could face the battle upcoming. Thanks, you guys. I'll do it. And so Soichi re-gripped his rifle and muttered that to himself in his mind. Okay, back 1 second. See if it bets. Okay, yep, all bets are closed at this time. Yeah, so all the bets are closed, probably because the casino is most likely under attack at this very moment. One more second. In the case of an enemy invading a sealed location, there is an essential need to blind the enemy's eyes and ears. That was especially important when they're up against armed soldiers. So in most cases, the general idea was to turn off the lights before the enemy got there. But the location of the invasion this time was the central control room. It held its own separate power source. Therefore, it was impossible to turn off the lights. Because of that, there were generally two strategies they could take. Either use I use smoke grenades and flash grenades to blind the enemy. And come in charging with weapons. Or using... Let's make sure I get this right. Or using drugs to render them powerless. This is they're talking about the attacker strategy, by the way, not Soichi and the others. But because Yuki was their priority, they couldn't afford to use drugs or any kind of stun grenades that would leave her of any lasting side effects. Since they knew that, it was easy for Soichi's group to defend against those. The moment the door opened, a brilliant flash of light filled the central control room. I knew it, they really were going with flash grenades. Fumika shouted as she fired. At the same time, the flash grenade... I think she used a flash grenade, sorry. At the same time, there was... Oh, wait, no. At the same time as the flash went off, she fired and hit the man quickly. The man collapsed at the entrance, while his comrades who were standing nearby dragged him outside and left him there. That was what Fumika had been going for. But even with the goggles she was wearing, she couldn't see much through the flash. Thanks to that, she lost her chance to take out several opponents all at once in the first go. Oh well. Guess I should be glad I managed to get at least one. Fumika watched the flash fade away and readjusted her goggles back in the right position. In the end, if they used smoke grenades in a sealed location where there was no air flowing, it would the whole place would have become visible to the eye eventually. And so Fumika predicted they used flash grenades. In the end, it went just as the result was just as Fumika predicted, and so she managed to take out she managed to injure one of the men. You can open your eyes now, guys. Fumika gave the signal once the flash weakened. Nagisa, throw the grenade. They should be gathering at the entrance. Fumika said that as she fired towards the entrance of the room. One of the enemies who was poking his head out to watch pulled back. Roger. The barricade where Soichi and the others were was about a dozen or so meters away from the entrance of the room. The grenade Nagisa threw drew an arc in the air as it flew ahead those dozen or so meters and flew right into the frame of the door. An explosion followed right after. Soichi and the others could see the bright red fire from the barricade. And the, hold on a second. And the blast that followed also went into the room. Blocked away by the shock of the explosion, Soichi hit himself loudly on a piece of the metal barricade. At the same time, Fumika, who had taken cover, frantically ran deeper into the barricade. There wasn't much we could really do about it because the enemy's charging this time around. We should stop using grenades now, or we're gonna get burned ourselves. After the blast had settled, Fumika said that and peeked out from the barricade again. Soichi and Nagisa held their rifles as they looked at the entrance from the barricade. Think we got him? I think that'd be too optimistic.
私もそう思う。外には隠れるところ結構あるし。
I think so too. There are plenty of places to hide from the outside. There are plenty of places to hide outside. I also recall the structure of the outside of the room as she said that. Hold on a second. Central control room was set to be a figurehead of the behind-the-scenes stuff. Because of that, hold on a second. Sorry, because of that, the maintenance hallways and plumbing for the room ran outside it.
そうだ、工事用の通路だ。
That's right. Tunnels used for the hallways used for construction. Just when Nagisa shouted that. Just when everyone's attention was focused on the entrance, the roof near the inside the barricade where Soichino's were at made a loud sound. A soldier popped in, lunged in from there. Big bro! Yuki was the first one who noticed it. The man was right at the edge of her field of vision. But at this moment, Soichi couldn't move. The reason why is because four men had broken in from the front. The central control room appeared to be an impregnable stronghold that was only in appearances. In actuality, it was easy for the on the other hand, it was made easy for attackers to attack it. The hallways for maintenance use. That was the reason why the tunnels for the hallways for maintenance use ran around the control room. It made it easy to break in from the construction of these buildings. Sorry, so it had originally been designed as an impregnable fortress. But this was the place where the villain running the game would be. So it would be a problem for the show if it really was impossible to attack. Over the course of many games, they would want there for to be at least one time where people figure out the mystery of the game and took on the villains behind the scenes. Because that would make the customers of the casino happy as well. In other words, they made it as a way this they designed it so they could beat the boss of the game. Just like this game is designed just like a this game is designed just like a video game in that sense. There were a few who knew this, even amongst the game masters. So it wasn't unnatural Nagisa didn't know herself. Those who knew it would attack not the central control room, but from the room in front. On the other hand, that made it easier to defend and easier to build. But of course, the soldiers knew that this place had been designed so it would be easy to attack. In the end, everything had played right into their hands. So first, they pretended to attack from the front. They threw in a flash grenade and pretended that one of them got taken out. And once Soichi's group had let their guards down, they would attack through the maintenance hallways. And once they were thrown into disarray by that surprise attack, the main forces were charging from the front. It was a three-layered strategy. It was a cautious and it was a very cautious and thorough strategy, especially against a group of amateurs like Soichi's group. The man who came from the ceiling fired at Nagisa. The information they had said that the most dangerous one there was the game master who betrayed them. Two of the bullets hit Nagisa. Though she was wearing a bulletproof vest, the rifle was such a large caliber that one of the bullets penetrated the vest and pierced her body. The other bullet was stopped by the vest, but the impact broke several of her ribs. Yuki screamed when she saw Nagisa fall down in front of her. Then the man looked at Yuki. The man reached out for just when the man reached out for Yuki, Sakumi grabbed Yuki's hand and tugged it back. Thanks to that, the man reached into thin air. At the same time, Soichi was firing at the men coming from the front. The man at the lead of the group used a shield much like the one used by riot police. And the remaining three hid behind his back and charged as they charged forward. Soichi pulled the trigger, aiming at the man's open right side. He was driven by the experience fighting the enemies with the stun grenades, and from the presence of Yuki and Sakumi behind him. Though Soichi still felt some resistance, he was able to pull the trigger thanks to that. If he hesitated here, and everything, and they'd all be dead by now. I can't get a good aim on them. Though he learned some of the ropes before the enemy had come. Soichi was so panicked in his shooting that they couldn't hit his targets. But this time it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Balls scattered in the area where the leader was, and managed to injure one of the men and frighten the men just a little bit.
Soichi-kun, その調子で頑張って。
That's the spirit. Keep it up, Soichi. Got it. Once Fumika noticed what was happening behind her, she let Soichi handle the front and went to turn around. When she did, the man was aiming his muzzle right at Sakumi. Behind Sakumi was Yuki. Seemed the man was intending to eliminate Sakumi so he could capture Yuki.
Sakumi-chan!
But when the man noticed Fumika turning around, he switched his target to her. At the exact same time, Fumika aimed her gun at him. They fired at the same time. Sakumi screamed from the sound of the bullets that flew right near her. And Yuki froze up and clung to Sakumi. Fumika's bullet hit the man in his abdomen and he fell to his knees. Damn it! On the other hand, Fumika was hit in the right shoulder and dropped her rifle. When the man saw that, he aimed his gun at Fumika again. Is this it for me? Fumika tried to pull out her pistol as her training had told her. But even she was well aware that the man would pull the trigger before she could. The man's expression warped from within Fumika's field of view. Perhaps he's feeling joy about getting to shoot and kill Fumika. But there was another gunshot before the man could fire.
Fumika-san!
Those slightly shrill gunshots came from the small revolver that Sakumi was holding in her hands. Sakumi had fired from close range, aiming at the man's largest part, his torso. In conditions this good, even a complete amateur like Sakumi wouldn't miss. The 3 bullets all hit the man. But since the revolver Sakumi was holding was small so that she could handle it, its caliber wasn't enough to pierce the man's body armor. And left no decisive damage. Man was a bit shaken from the bullets. But they weren't enough to keep him still. But that was all in the time Fumika needed.
Nice, Sakumi-chan!
Nice one, Sakumi. There was a loud gunshot from Fumika's side. Fumika had drawn her pistol of trained movements and pulled the trigger without hesitation. It was a large automatic pistol that easily pierced the man's body armor. In the face of those 3 bullets, the man powerlessly fell to the floor. Ever since a little while before the battle behind him was decided, Soichi stopped using aimless rapid fire and switched to firing 1 bullet at a time. He was aiming at the man in the lead. He was firing at the man in the lead, aiming at his unprotected right side. Soichi calmly fired. But the bullet missed and bounced off the metal shield. Wait a second. Sorry, the shield was made of composite metal, synthetic, and enhanced fiber, meaning that while it was light, it was also quite sturdy. Taking bullets head on the side, it could even completely defect. Sorry, on bullets head on the side, it could easily defend itself even from a rifle shot that hit at a bad angle. And since the shield was being held diagonally, it was impossible for Soichi to pierce through it from where he was. And every time Soichi fired, there were several bullets fired in counterattack. But he was completely protected from them thanks to the barricade. The enemy's bullets reflected off the barricade, leaving Soichi unharmed. This is bad. If something doesn't change, we're gonna be in deep shit. But Soichi was panicking as he continued to fire. While he was getting unharmed, he also wasn't laying Also wasn't laying a single shot on his enemies, and they were just getting closer and closer. It'll only be a few more seconds until they penetrate the barricade. There's 4 enemies. If I don't do something, then we're... Soichi fired again. And by coincidence, one of those shots hit not the man in the lead, but the leg of the man behind him. The leg was a relatively difficult place to guard. The man collapsed to the floor. I did it. An indescribable mixture of elation and disgust swirled around Soichi at the reality that he'd taken down someone. But even though their comrade had been taken down, the men didn't stop acting. They proceed forwards, and Soichi remained frozen still as he fired. The men just proceed forward and fired at the still Soichi. Whoa! The barricade intercepted most of them, but one of them grazed Soichi's temple. There was a large shockwave in pain. The skin of Soichi's temple was cleaved off. He started bleeding heavily from there. Soichi staggered and nearly fell on his backside.
Soichi-kun!
After she finished taking out her enemy from behind, Fumika turned back around. Now, while Soichi was in the middle of struggling to balance himself from the impact of the bullet, Fumika started firing at the enemies. This is the end, amateurs. But Fumika was only able to attack in a small amount of time. The remaining 3 men were already encroaching right in front of the barricade. They didn't even need a shield at this distance. The man at the lead threw aside his shield and held a pistol with both his hands at the ready. The 2 behind him held rifles. They were all aimed at Fumika. Fumika! Soichi forced his staggering mind and body into action, and he lunged at Fumika with all his might.
Soichi-kun?
At that moment, several bullets mowed down the area where Fumika had been standing. Ugh! Since Soichi's arm was where Fumika had been, 2 of the bullets hit Soichi's left arm. One of the bullets gouged out the skin of the flesh of his arm, while the other dug itself into him, pierced through him. But he felt no pain. He didn't have the sense of mind to feel it. Ugh! Soichi desperately aimed his gun at the men. But the men were already aiming at him at this time. Damn it! Still going? Even so... No, sorry. Damn it, not yet. Even so, Soichi couldn't give up. If they got him here, then he wouldn't be the only one who died. He had to protect those behind him, even if it cost his life. And that wasn't for just for their sakes. It was also for Soichi's own sake, who had chosen a future with them. The first man fired his pistol. It hit Soichi's left thigh. Oh, sorry, left flank. Because the angle of the bullet had been rather low, his bulletproof vest knocked to the back, but Soichi gasped from the impact. Immediately after that, Soichi saw the second and third man put their fingers to the trigger. Is this it? Am I done for? Even at this point, all Soichi could do was accept his fate. His body was frozen from the impact of the bullet. He wouldn't be able to attack in time, and there was no way he could run. Unlike the man who'd been using a shield, these two had rifles. His bulletproof vest would be little help. His bulletproof vest would provide little defense as they mowed him down. But then something unexpected occurred. No! Oops. A small shadow cut in between the men with a shrill voice. I'll never forgive you if you kill Big Bro. Yuki? It was just in the nick of time. Yuki cut between them just as the men when she realized that... Yuki, realizing Soichi was in danger, cut in just as the men were about to attack him.
So?
Damn it! The men frantically pointing their guns in a different direction. Fortunately, the bullet just grazed Yuki and flew all the way off into the distance. Big Bro! Then Yuki clung to Soichi's neck. I'll keep you safe, Big Bro. It was a defense method no one had thought of. Yuki was the one that Soichi's group needed to protect, and was the one the soldiers needed to recover. No one considered the thought of her using herself as a shield. Since soldiers wanted to recover her, they couldn't afford to injure her no matter what. So they couldn't attack Soichi when she was like that. I've always been the one being protected. I won't let myself just be that way, just like Sakumi, Big Sis Sakumi. So at least at the very end, I'll protect you, no matter what. However, Yuki, the one who was trying to protect Soichi, didn't know the situation at all. Her feelings for Soichi just drove her to plunge over to him. That was all. Her reason was simple. She didn't want to see Soichi die. That was all. Yuki? Big bro. Yuki wrapped her trembling body around Soichi. Everyone froze at that moment. Sakumi blamed herself for not being able to do anything. Her heart was crushed by the feeling that she failed to stop Yuki, and that there was nothing she could do for Soichi now. Fumiko was just rising up. She was rendered speechless when she saw Soichi and Yuki. As long as the men were pointing their guns at them, they couldn't do anything. Yuki was no longer thinking anything. She just clung to Soichi tightly and shut her eyes tight. Soichi was surprised by the situation and didn't know what to do. All he could do was embrace the trembling Yuki. The men were also having difficulty deciding how to deal with Yuki's actions. But that hesitation only lasted a few seconds. They aimed for Soichi's head. No, they would aim. They would likely aim for Soichi's head and fire. In the end, from this distance, Yuki's actions would be meaningless. But those few seconds cost him everything. It was worth waiting, huh? There were still participants in this extra game. The two other participants that everyone here had forgotten about. This is what they call a diversionary tactic, Takayama. If you have time to talk, move those hands. Yeah. Those two talk casually, as though they were completely ignoring the atmosphere around them. And then they fired. You guys were 10 years too early to take us on. The three soldiers fell in front of Soichi. Two men were standing behind them. A man, like a hoodlum-like man, and a taciturn, strong-willed man. The two of them emotionlessly dealt the final blow to the soldiers and approached Soichi and the others. Well, that about does it. The two men walked over to Soichi as he was holding Yuki in his arms. The two of them had collars and rifles, large rifles. Soichi then realized he recognized one of the men. Wait, you're... Soichi recalled it. That man was Tezuka, who he exchanged information with on the first day.
Oh, 確か三剣って言ったよな、お前。
Hey there. Your name was Mitsurugi, wasn't it? Though we just killed someone, the man, Tezuka, didn't seem the least bit bothered. He simply naturally pointed the rifle at Soichi.
それでお前たちはどうなんだ？俺と遊ぶ気はあるかい？
So what do you think? Care to play with me? He smirked oddly cheerfully. Though it was a smile, Soichi could see him as nothing more than a threatening predator.
冗談でしょ。せっかく生き残ったってのに。戦争なら一人でやってちょうだい。
You're kidding, right? After we all just survived this? If you want to fight a war, do it yourself. It was then Fumika said that she stood up.
まあね。
Yeah, figures. Tezuka chuckled and lowered his gun as though nothing had happened.
手塚、握手見たぞ。
That was a sick joke, Tezuka. The other man spoke to Tezuka as he lit a cigarette.
そう言うなよ、高山のおっさん。いいじゃねえか。俺の数少ない趣味なんだからよ。
Don't be that way, Takayama. It's alright, ain't it? It's one of my few hobbies, after all. Tezuka, Tezuka lit his own cigarette with the lighter from Takayama's hand. It seemed they had no intention of fighting Soichi and the others. I don't really know what's going on, but we've been saved? At that moment, all the strength left Soichi's body, and he flopped on the spot. Big bro. When she noticed Soichi sitting down, Yuki looked up at him, still in his arms. She was having trouble understanding what was going on, so she looked around Soichi. Those men there saved us. After Soichi indicated them, Yuki looked at Takayama and Tezuka.
なんだ？
What is it? When he noticed Yuki's silent stare, Tezuka asked that question and blew out a puff of smoke.
おじさんたち、いい人？悪い人？
Are you guys good people? Bad people?
もちろんいい人さ、お嬢ちゃん。
Good people, of course, Missy. Tezuka answered cheerfully as, for some reason, Takayama coughed next to him. It seemed he swallowed his smoke in a bad way.
ゆきちゃん、この人は趣味が悪い人だよ。
Yuki, these people are sickos. Nagisa, who was being helped up by Fumika, came on over. Her wound wasn't to be taken lightly, but it wasn't life-threatening either.
一度は私たちを襲ったってのに、どういう風の吹き回しなの？
You tried to attack us once, so what brought along this change of heart? While Nagisa appeared to be in high spirits, Fumika's Fumika's face was grim. Huh? Soichi grew nervous again when he heard Fumika.
宗一君、この二人なのよ。4階の戦闘禁止エリアで私たちを襲ったの。
Soichi, these were the two who attacked us on the non-combat area of the fourth floor. No way! Soichi panicked and looked at Tezuka, only to see him looking at him with amusement. Didn't sense any malicious intent there at all. They were the ones who attacked us with that robot back then? Then this time have they...
お前たちを助けたつもりはねえよ。楽して楽しく勝ちたいだけさ。今も昔もな。
I didn't come here to save you. I just want a fun and easy victory. Just like I always do. Tezuka's eyes were serious in that one moment. But it was quickly replaced by a cynical smirk. He just wanted to win. He didn't care at all about the others. That was just the way he rolled. That was why he left Soichi and the others alone until the very last moment. Let's wait for the moment where their enemy's attention was entirely on them, leaving them off guard. He didn't care. He wouldn't have cared even if Soichi and the others had died.
じゃあ今私たちと戦わないのは？
Then why aren't you fighting us now?
その方が楽だからに決まってるじゃねえか。知らねえのか？急須猫を噛むってさ。
Because it's easier that way, obviously. Don't you know? A cornered rat bites back. More like a lion than a rat in this case. Soichi thought that as he looked at the smiling Tezuka and the silent Takayama. Their abilities when they attacked Soichi on the fourth floor, and the way they look now. No matter how Soichi looked at it, their way of life was clearly on a whole different scale than theirs.
それに、俺はこう見えて平和主義者なんだ。
Besides, I may not look it, but I'm a pacifist.
嘘つきなさいよ。真顔でよくそんなことを言うわね。
That's bullshit and you know it. I'm surprised you have the balls to say that with a straight face. But it looks like they really don't want to fight us. He didn't know what their true intentions were, but it seemed like he wasn't wrong on that account. Soichi relaxed again, and finally loosened his grip on Yuki. In reality, it probably would have been better to stay on guard. But Soichi was sick of fighting at this point. So if they could go without if they could end this without fighting, he felt it was best to let bygones be bygones, no matter what happened in the past.
三剣さん、ゆきちゃん。
Sakumi approached them. She kneeled down over to them. Sakumi, I'm glad you're okay. Soichi was completely devoid of strength, but he smiled a little when he saw Sakumi's face. That's right. Yuki was the same.
三剣さんたちも
Same with you guys. When she saw their smiles, Sakumi also gave her own little smiles, tears welled in her eyes. At the same time, she opened the first aid kit she was holding.
三剣さん、左腕を見せてください。ひどい怪我ですよ。
Mitsurugi, please show me your left arm. You're badly wounded. Sure. Soijin finally remembered that he'd been badly injured. Ow! Ow! He'd forgotten the pain in the face of the tension and agitation. Once he remembered it, it came back. He couldn't forget it again. The pain that he'd been suppressing all this time all came out at once.
手伝うよ、さくみお姉ちゃん。
I'll help, Big Sis Sakumi.
お願いします、ゆきちゃん。
Thank you, Yuki. Yep. Yuki hastily moved off of Soichi and sat down facing Sakumi. She was planning to help Sakumi treat Soichi's wound. Soichi endured the pain as he held out his bloody left arm to them. It hurt, but he was happy to see the two of them like that. Because they were alive. Because he protected them. If all he had to pay for that was a wound like this, then he could put up with it. When he saw the two of them like that, the reality that they'd all survived spread through Soichi's heart.
それにしてもおかしいな。スミスの野郎出てきやがらね。
Still, this is strange. That bastard Smith ain't showing up. Tezuka glared at his PDA screen and shook it a few times.
手塚くんが嫌いなんじゃないの？
Sorry, poked it a few times. Maybe it's because he hates you?
うるせえよ。
Piss off.
出てこれないのよ。
He'll never show up again. Fumika removed her earpiece as she said that.
今連絡があったわ。すぐに助けが来るって。
I just got word right now. Help will be on the way soon. Then that means... Soichi's face was overwhelmed with surprise. But not in a bad way, unlike every time up till now.
そうよ、宗一くん。
That's right, Soichi. Fumika was smiling. And she heaved a small sigh of relief.
このゲームは私たちの勝ちよ。
We won this game. The game that had gone on for a long time. Had finally its final game had concluded in this manner. Okay, and that's our chips for having gotten Yuki. Picked Yuki as the correct survivor. Oh. A black van drove through a residential block in the deep night. In the late night, sorry. The van passed through a narrow road and stopped in front of a certain house. Certain residence, sorry. And when it did, several men in black clothes came out of the van. The first one who came out gave a signal of his hand, and they silently scattered into the night and vanished. Only the man who'd given the signal was still there. And as though he'd been waiting for it, another man came out from the car.
鴻上隊長、配置につきました。
Captain Kogami, we've arrived. The man in black who remained there turned to the last man who'd gone out of the car and reported,
そうか。逃がすなよ。
I see. Don't let him escape. The man called Kogami said a few words to that middle-aged man and nodded. He was tall and robust and well-built. However, despite his large body, he held a calm air around him. Like the image of a gentleman, almost.
逃がしませんよ。相手は素人じゃないですか。
We won't let him escape. We're up against an amateur here, right?
確かにな。だが、それでも組織の資金源の一つであることには変わりはない。
That's true. But it doesn't change their source of income for the organization.
ここまでやる必要があるんですかね。ここのやつはオンラインでかけていただけなんでしょ。
Is there really need to go this far? This son of a bitch just bet online, that's all, right? The man in black said that as he looked up to the window. The lights were on the window, and their target seemed to be right there.
例外はない。そういうことだ。
There are no exceptions. That's just how it is. The one living here was a customer of the casino. However, they weren't enough of a big shot to get an invitation to the casino ship. They were using a special client software created by the organization, and was one of the people who participated in betting on the game online. The men in black had traced their logs and access back here to this person. They also confirmed that it wasn't false information already.
まあ、別に俺も不満があるわけじゃないんですけどね。安全なところから人の生き死にに金をかけてたんだ。
Well, not like I have any qualms about this myself. This bastard just bet on people's lives from a safe place.
自分も危険なことに手を染めていたんだって自覚してもらわないと。
We gotta make them aware that they were dirtying their hands in some dangerous business. The man in black smirked as he released the safety and loaded the magazine into the gun. Ace had expanded their target range now that they'd won their fight. They were to target all those who bet on the game, no exceptions. They didn't know who they were or what connections they had. At that moment, there was a small alarm rang from the man's radio. That was the signal that all preparations were set. They'd cut all communication lines starting with phone lines and launched jamming to block the cell phone from receiving any calls. And just now, at that moment, the lights in the room the men were watching went out. They cut the power as well.
隊長、準備完了です。
Captain, we're all set.
気づかれないうちにすぐにかかれ。抵抗するようなら容赦はいらない。民間人といえども立派に組織の一員なんだからな。
Good. Get it done quick so you're not noticed. If they resist, show no mercy. They may be a civilian, but they're still a member of the organization.
了解。 突入
Roger. Charge! With Kogami's last words, the man in black shouted into the radio and headed towards the site himself. Kogami, who stayed behind, went back into the van once he saw the man in black vanish into the night. Huh? There was a scream and gunshots. But Kogami, who had closed the van's door, heard nothing. The sounds hadn't been that loud to begin with.
さて、次はどこだったか。
Now, where to next? Kogami had already lost interest in the person who'd been living here. They weren't the only ones they needed to take out this night. He didn't have time to think about each and every one of them. To mind each and every one of them. The men in black returned just a few minutes later. None of them were hurt, and they showed no signs of exhaustion. In the end, their opponent had been a mere amateur. Not an opponent who could have put up much of a fight. And the van quietly drove off in the night as though nothing had happened. Alright, that was the bad ending. You see, you get the bad ending by using the bet system in this route. And if you use the bet system this means that if you want to get to see the actual ending of this route, you need to go through this route again without using the bet system. But see, the thing is that now that you've used the bet system even just once, you're actually locked out from obtaining all the content in this game. There's some certain bonus content you will not be able to obtain. Because that's right, in the end, all of you who did any stream bets, any of you who used the bet system, any of you tried using it in their minds at all, you were the real monsters all along. And so, this ending taught us that, and thus, the game is over. Well, or so you'd think, but in reality, I have another file on my other profile where I did not use the bet system at all, and I can use that to get all the full content. So I'm going to switch to that, and I will be shutting off the stream for a moment, so I can switch on and get to the other file to use for archive purposes. So I'll see you again in just a minute.